Gaming Today presents Cash Considerations.
All right, welcome to the Cash Considerations podcast. Today is Friday, May 8th. Hopefully you're listening to this before Saturday, May 9th, because we're going to touch on some UFC, but we're bringing the show to you this week, again on Zoom. Things are opening up. Phase 1 here in Nevada, phase green and yellow and other places. Shit's happening, but we're still here on Zoom, and this is where we bring you the show. So before we get started here, I want to bring in the boys. First, here on my left, we have Alan Berg at %Berg. What's up, AB?
What's up, man? I'm much more focused this week for sure. I'm ready.
That's good. That's good. We handed the reins back, and we got the UFC to get to, as well as NFL. We have here to my right, I have HB, Howard Barish, at Gaming Today News. What's up, HB?
Hey, guys. Happy Friday. Starting to see some glimmers of light, so it's exciting.
Yep, we're seeing glimmers of light. What we're not seeing tonight on our Zoom call is Mo Toy Pearson, but he's at Heat These Takes on Twitter, and he's here with us audio only. Mo, what's up, brother?
One day I'm going to figure out this connection thing. In 2020, it's almost an outrage that this is still happening, but I'm doing pretty good. Late night, but, doing okay.
Good. Well, at least you're not in the transfer portal like Tua's brother. I saw that, and I immediately thought of you and said, oh, shit, where's this guy going? You got any quick thoughts on that?
He's going to try to back up Tua with the Dolphins. He's going to go right to the NFL.
Oh, fuck it. Yeah, all right. No college football for him.
Yeah, he's not going to go to another college. He'll just go right to the fence, yeah.
I didn't know the NFL had a G League.
Right?
Oh, they'll get him in. It's simple. I seen it coming from a mile away.
Oh, boy.
Or 1 year, and they'll have the Jim Harbaugh rule.
Yeah, right.
That's fair. Oh, yeah, he's Jim Harbaugh. God damn it.
And holding it all together, as always, our glue guy, our producer, the main man, Reynolds. I am Reynolds 2305 on Twitter. He's going to have some good takes tonight on the UFC. That's one of his specialties. So, he's going to weigh in. Whether you agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. He's on the show tonight, and he's got stuff to say. So, first things first, let's touch on the NFL Week 1. We had lines come out. Big production show on ESPN, 3 hours to give out the schedule. Oh yeah, HB. It was a long one, but we don't have sports, so we have lines now for Week 1. And some books, I know we used to do it, put out lines for the entire season. There's some games available that way, but we're going to address basically. I just got a rundown real quick of the games. I'll go to you, Alan, first, because you were actually in the room, and you and Junkyard and Rexy and the Sink Man probably had some input into these lines. How hard is it to make lines for NFL games, one that may or may not even be played, but let alone they're played in September? How tough is the process?
It was unique for sure. I think the biggest thing was the conversation of what do we do? How much are fans worth to a spread? And there's various opinions on it out there. I personally think that having to travel in this time period of uncertainty and who knows what these teams are going to go through to get to where they need to go, and the hoteling and the testing and all these things, I still think there's an advantage to just being at your house and then getting to go to the stadium. So I was adamant that I think that it's at least somewhere between 1.2 and 1.8 per team, depending on how far they got to go and things like that. So I think there were certain games we probably opened a little lower than some of the other books did for various reasons such as that. But it was cool because what I love is I think because of the competition and because of, what's happened with the expansion, everybody wanted to be out. Like, we obviously have the deal with ESPN at Caesars. So it was, paramount for us to get certain games up. We threw up every Monday night game. And when we threw a few look ahead games that, people obviously will talk about. And, we definitely had different opinions than, our buddies at the Westgate. And then, man, we saw some crazy opinions out in Jersey. With,
My podcast.
Yeah. Well, and that's the fun part about doing this is, you get to now.
Poke your head in.
Because in the years past, look at HB. Would you hit the mute button, please, when you're talking? What are you doing over there? Are you putting in horse bets right now? HB.
It's called. My kids poke their heads in. I apologize.
No, that's okay. I thought you were talking to me. That's all. I thought you were over there handicapping golf for tomorrow.
Later.
Okay, you're going to do that later?
He's putting together his fantasy Balmoral lineups.
Oh, jeez. No harness. HB, you don't touch harness, do you?
No.
Okay. No harness. Oh.
No.
Anyhow,
of kings.
back to the lines.
Apologies.
Now with other books getting out there, you do have a lot of line variation. Opinions per se. The totals are interesting because they're a lot closer. There's not anybody going 1.5 or 2 points off on the totals. And if you are, you're put back into place pretty quickly. But it's a fun process. And
definitely.
I mean, Mo, have you looked at any of these lines yet?
Yeah, I kind of just scoured through them, just for a bit, just because like there's still hope. I feel like my connection's messed up. Are you guys hearing me?
Yeah, sound great. Keep talking.
All right, thank God. All right. But yeah, no, I looked through them just because, it's football. I think if anyone like is caring about sports and seeing like, NFL regular season wins and lines that are out right now, it's like there's like a beacon of like a light at the end of the tunnel. And, I feel like the NFL would play through a war at this point. I don't know if I really had much of an interest in a lot of them. There was like two of them that I looked at. New England, I think, opened as a 5.5 point favorite at Caesars.
Up to 6.5 currently.
No, that's definitely a big game for the Patriots to get off on the right foot after, all this off-season stuff. And I wouldn't even mind laying it, even against my guy Tua. And then my own team, the Niners, opened, 7 up to 8 at Westgate now. Their total's pretty low, 45. I think, as far as these two teams, they know each other well. But from an offensive standpoint, I feel like, it could just be more of a battle as far as, a lot of offense. Obviously, I didn't do too much reading on it, my usual. But, if anything, I'm not even a total guy, but if I had to give out anything, that over 45 seems pretty crazy.
Jeez, look at you giving out games and totals and shit in May. I mean, the ad Heathens takes, it never stops. It never takes a break. I can't believe it. AB, was there any games that got excessive action more so than the other ones? I mean, like, I'm looking at Houston, Kansas City, obviously the first game. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, that's already up to 10.5. That's a big game. And the other one, I saw a pretty big line move was the Bears. Your Bears at Detroit. Did you guys open the Bears a small favorite?
We had Bears -1 to open. And then we took a sharp player bet on the Lions. So we immediately flipped it to 1 the other way. It's crazy because, as I mentioned, PointsBet is one of the books that's kind of newer in the United States, and their numbers from ours were just completely different.
Yep.
Yeah. Just as an example to really briefly go through here, they opened Miami at New England. They had New England -9.5. We opened 5.5. As you said, went to 6.5. They opened New Orleans -3.5 at home against Tampa Bay. We opened 6.5. They had the Bears -2.5. We had the Bears -1. Westgate opened that Detroit -1.5. They had the Niners -10.5. We had -7. They had Green Bay at Minnesota. They had Minnesota -1. We had -3.5. And then Philadelphia at Washington. They had the Eagles as a 9-point road favorite, and we had -6.5. So definitely some lines that I was very like, wow, like they seemed very heavy on certain favorites, and I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where these numbers close by the time September rolls around.
Well, and that's the interesting thing as well, because I've been part of this process, in the past, not this season, but PointsBet last season did the same thing. They were very heavy on public favorites, especially the East Coast public favorites, where they were the only market was New Jersey for them. So you could see they were playing defense early, giving you a much bigger number on certain teams like the Patriots, like the Eagles, the Giants not so much, but even like having the Packers a short number when it's legitimately a field goal game. So you'll see that, and I think with the expansion of sports books in general, legally in different states, you're going to start to see some variations of lines and a different approach to this whole thing. And I don't know, I might call it a little throwback, where it's like bookies used to be.
Yeah.
You're going to see a really shitty line on the Bears game in Chicago, whereas you might not see it in, somewhere else. And like the worst line in the world on the Eagles games is going to be back east in New Jersey. Every single week you're going to lay a point or more to the worst of it, no matter what, because those are the people betting it.
The beauty is that if you live in those areas, the advantage you're going to have of just, there's going to be a book or two that's going to know that the market is the market for a reason. And it's not like you could sit there all day and hang 9.5 New England, but I'm telling you right now, like, there'll be plenty of people that's going to take plus 9.5 if they can lay 6.5. So even 7 to 9.5 is gold. That's just, I could not have to work with those type of bets someday. So we'll see how long these things last as we grow and as people get, kind of like more involved, and the more mobile, obviously, that pops up, the more you're going to start to see the sophisticated bettors, I think, coming in. And that whole game of them throwing them out, and keeping them, and all this stuff, it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out over the next, decade or so.
Shit, you're talking about the next decade. It might be the next year. The way things are going to change, and the way the risk management of our friends overseas and coming to the United States and doing things, it's a lot different than what we know and what we've done. So, I don't know, -7 and plus 9.5. There's guys that they live off of that.
We're just going to have a lot of friends. Is all it's going to boil down to. There's 50 for you and 50 for you and 50 for you. And this is going to happen. So
just from episodes in the past, reach out to HB via email or call or text. Don't leave him hanging. He's always trying to build that list and build those friends and things like that. Don't fucking blow HB off. So if he calls you or texts you or emails you, just at least respond. Right, HB? That's...
Yeah, Aretha Franklin had a song. It was called Respect, R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Just get back.
Okay.
That's a pretty legit song, by the way.
Strong, right, Mo?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Real quick, Alan, Chargers at the Bengals. Was that a lay? Sharp play, -3?
Oh, no. We opened higher. We had, I want to say,
5?
Put me on the spot. I almost feel like we opened 5.5.
Okay, it's -4 now. Okay.
Yeah. We took bets.
On Burrow.
Yeah, and let's be honest here, man. We're not the type of place that we're just going to throw up a market number on stuff. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that we're going to get pounded at the number that we open with, sure. But we want we want something to get us going. And we know when we put up a number that we're taking a bet. So,
right.
Is what it is. But it was good, man. It was entertaining to see everything. I think that's the most active schedule release I've ever seen in the city. And,
you guys didn't do totals, did you?
No, we put them up today. We wanted a little more time to kind of have our feeling, and then that's something. totals are just so much more a sophisticated bet.
Yeah,
And
100%.
you're just essentially, you're going to be booking mostly sharps on that stuff, minus, the overs and parlays and whatnot. So spreads is definitely where you can kind of get some feel and know where to be, so that when the publics are, coming in, you're ideally putting yourself in the best situation, where a total is just usually going to need the under. I mean, most of the time.
Yeah.
But it's more in the NFL. There's teams that you're going to need Buffalo over 12 out of 16 weeks probably. There's going to be certain teams that you just know, like that total is 40, I believe.
Yeah, well, we were looking at – I was laughing. One of the games they had us put up, one of the advanced games, was Buffalo at San Francisco.
Oh,
and I go, what is this total going to be, 32.5?
right.
Like, who's scoring in that game?
37?
Kidding me? Yeah. No, we didn't do total. The advanced games, we didn't do totals, just spreads. Yeah.
Hey, AB, good segue, because I was going to tell you that you guys did a fantastic job with those look-ahead games. You covered pretty much a few games every week until the Christmas season. And I know that couldn't have been easy.
Well, it was, it's partially we have to give credit to our friends at the Mouse, but that they have their games they're looking for, and we just do the best we can to kind of put up the stuff that they want to talk about and kind of go from there. But yeah, I mean, you're not going to see a whole lot of action on that stuff, to be honest. Even the sharp guys. I mean, unless the number they feel is maybe like 2.5 points off there.
But it's still interesting to look at, especially even for low-level players who have bet with their hearts, and they see their team, at a game in November that they may be going to, that they hopefully are going to.
Oh, it's the greatest. We did it every year at CG. We did the entire season, and it's
insane.
Such a fun process. It was so hard. But one of the best stories ever was when a guy came in from Cincinnati and wanted to bet the Bengals games every week, but he wanted to bet 5 dimes a side, which, and these advanced games, you take a dime or 2 max, because we're not guessing, but we're guessing. Like Mo likes to say, I'm really guessing, but what does your Twitter handle say, Mo, on your thing? I don't know.
That heed these takes?
No, but when you say LOL, I'm guessing, or I'm really guessing, how do you say that?
Your byline on your Twitter handle.
I know for a fact but I'm also just guessing, or something like that.
Well, yeah. So we're guessing.
Well, that's a universal truth.
This guy came to the window. He said, I'm going to bet every week of the Bengals games. I want 5 dimes a side. Okay. And he bet the Bengals, I believe, 13 or 14 of the weeks, but against the Browns, against the Ravens. I think he bet the Ravens. He said the Bengals aren't going to fucking cover against the Ravens. But anyhow, that's what you get with this. You get a lot of talk. You get a lot of PR. You get a lot of look-ahead interest. Now, when people come back to town, hopefully they'll be able to get in and make their bets for, like HB said, and have action on a game, with us here in Vegas that they won't have somewhere else. So now with the proliferation of it in other states, maybe that won't happen as much. I don't know. But all right. Anything else anyone want to touch on in the NFL before we jump to the UFC?
No, not really. I think we pretty much covered it. A lot of books have lines, so if you're interested, guys, go out and check it out. They're all over the internet at this point. And like Dave said, they had that big ESPN show. There's value. I'll say that. I mean,
Ravens,
see where it all goes.
9.5 against Cleveland in week 1.
Yeah, we opened 10, and all due respect to my man JYD, I didn't agree. I didn't agree with that one. That was one of the few ones that I when we put it up, I'm like, man, like, why do I work here? I wish I could take 10.
It happens. That's the beauty of this stuff is you get the disagreements and then you put the lines up and then you go, hey, what are we making that line now? After you get the first bet or see the ticker, it's just one of those, like, I got you on this one or you got me on this one. And it's fun to talk about.
And at least half the time I'll go, wow, I was wrong. Yeah, I was wrong.
Oh, yeah. That's the beauty.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Let's transition to, the UFC. And we're doing the show on Friday night. And in today's world, everything is just so in flux and so changing. And before we're getting ready, I'm looking at stuff, trying to get ready to prep the show. And
Oh no, Reynolds is about to get triggered.
the text comes across and it says, Jacare test positive. Now what? And I'm thinking, I was driving home. I had the kids, and I'm like, oh no, they're going to cancel this thing? And immediately pivot in live, like right now, I got ESPN on the background and different things. They knew he had it. He told them when he got there that a family member he was in contact with. So, in the midst of all the testing, the show goes on. Reynolds, I mean, you're squirming up there. You're this, that. Do you believe this?
I can very much believe this. Look, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time because I know AB wants to talk about the fights, but I do think it's important to mention that this has been a bad idea from the start. The card should absolutely not have been going on. There's a reason why the NBA is a professional sports league, that they had a positive test shut down just this week, started talking about putting testing in place, looking at procedures to either continue the season or to start for next season. There's a reason Major League Baseball hasn't come back, all that stuff, right? And the UFC has a positive test, not just a positive test for the fighter. His two cornermen also tested positive, and they are trying to proceed and go ahead with the card for Saturday. It's ridiculous, it's dangerous, and it is a bad look all around. There is so many exposures from the time that he got into town in Jacksonville to the time of the test. They try and say he was isolated. He wasn't isolated. There's video of him on Instagram around fighters in the hotel.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just shut it down. That's what should happen.
Yeah, it's a really, really hard thing to do, and I totally understand your point of view. Part of me is, I can agree with it, but part of me says, fuck, I want to see the fights. I want to see something just to take away something that we can have. And maybe it's selfish. Maybe it's just a lack of having anything else. I mean, HB, you've been diving in with this horse racing. You're giving out picks. I see these videos you're doing. So you at least got a regular routine. But how much are you missing sports?
A ton. And not even to have action, but just to view and enjoy even the golf tournaments on the weekend. Just flick it on Saturday or Sunday and look at the leaderboard. None of that.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre.
It is. It's really tough. But I mean, as of right now, we're doing the show. It's Friday night. It's almost a little after 10 o'clock Pacific. It's still going on. So that's a good thing.
But I couldn't agree with Reynolds more. And AB might not agree. But you know what? Act professional. Do what the other leagues are doing. Don't be greedy. Shut the thing down.
Well, that still might happen. We don't know.
It's possible. I mean, I think the UFC is going to do everything they possibly can to make sure that the show goes on. But I do think that there's going to be an increase in pressure in the next 24 hours or so to actually, make the call to put the safety first and paramount. And we'll see if the UFC is able to work around that or not. They want the show to go on at all costs.
Yeah. Well, for those of you listening to the show, at GT Cash Consider on Twitter, you may be listening to this after Saturday, and the show may be canceled, and you're going to be like, God damn it, these guys are going to talk about the fights and stuff right now and, break down stuff, and either listen to us on 1.5 times speed or 2 times speed and just get through it, because we're going to have other stuff to talk about, hopefully at the end here. But we're going to break down the fights, because this is what Alan writes about, looks at, lives for. Reynolds trains like a fighter. I've gotten to just know some of it from osmosis, just listening to you guys, and been entertained by some really good cards. The irony of all this now is that this has been talked about, AB, as maybe the deepest, best quality card ever in the UFC. I mean, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have the star power. Like, there's not a singular star, McGregor and, Rousey back in the day, whomever. But when you look at this card, there's some good fights.
Yeah, my buddies who are fight fans, I mean, we're all like, as far as the card quality, we're like, man, this is great. Like, I mean, there's fights that, I don't know, Reynolds, what would you say? Like 2 years ago, there's multiple fights on here that could have been the main event of a fight night, and you wouldn't have blinked an eye at it. You'd just be like, oh yeah, okay, that's I mean,
I would say it this way: is that the depth on this card is about as good as what you saw in the golden age of MMA from about 2007 to 2011, where almost every card had some really good stylistic fights, really deep name recognition, and they gotten away with that because when you do 42 events a year, they can't all be that. And having to take the last 2 months off has allowed them to kind of put together. I won't call this one the best card of all time, but it's the best we've had in, what are we in 2020? Like 9-10 years, I think.
Wow.
yeah, it's really strong top to bottom. I mean, we make fun of sometimes some of the cards that they put together, especially for fight nights, but yeah, yeah, basically. So they're definitely going all out for all the reasons that we've talked about. And as a fight fan, I'm happy that there's fights. But I don't disagree with what Reynolds is saying about should they, shouldn't they. There's definitely plenty of reasons that they should not be doing this. But as somebody who's dying for sports, I'm thrilled that it's happening, and hopefully it will stay together with the rest of the fighters. I guess tested negative, but who knows if they contracted it today from this guy. So we'll see. But I guess we'll just jump in. We'll start with the main event. Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje for the interim UFC lightweight title. Right now, I mean, the cool thing about the amount of like action, like there's books that are putting up the prelims. I mean, we put up totals on every single fight. Normally we don't even do that just because usually the interest isn't really there, and you end up taking something that you wouldn't really want to take. But we're trying to give as many things for people to bet as they can. What I see currently was Gaethje's plus 190 at South Point and minus 190 on Ferguson at Westgate. This to me right now, if you twisted my arm and I had to bet it, I'd probably take the plus 190 with Gaethje, just because that's a good number for the long-term value of that number versus laying $1.90 on Ferguson with a guy that if he lands one big shot, it really could lead to the end of the fight. But at those two prices, it's not something I'm jumping on. I really did love the under, as I suggested in the column. It was minus 220 or sorry, minus 120 at Will Hill. And now we're looking at like minus 170. I've even seen minus 190. So that price has been gone, unfortunately. So if you didn't get on that early, it's probably to the point where you don't want to really, lay that kind of juice. But Reynolds, do you have any feel for this fight at all?
Yeah, I mean, this one is interesting, and this is a really hard card as in total to kind of handicap because there's so many variables going on right now with training camps. You don't know how well these guys are being able to actually put in the training and get the right kind of caliber training that they need with the right training partners. So you're really kind of you're taking more of a guess than you normally would. Yep. But stylistically, again, I'm really big on Tony Ferguson, but I'm even bigger on Justin Gaethje as far as exciting styles of fights. You have Gaethje, who is an absolute madman. I call him MMA's king of the death match. This is a guy that will stand and bang with absolutely anybody. And then once that started catching up to him a little bit in the Alvarez and Poirier fights, he made a couple of technical changes and has been a lot more he's not more hesitant, he's more patient. And it's turned into 3 straight first-round knockouts, 2 overhand rights that put down Vic and then Barbosa in the separate fights. And then he absolutely obliterated Donald Cerrone. I mean, when he destroyed him, it was like he had Cerrone almost glitching like a bad video game. Like, that's how rough it was watching that fight, and that's how good Justin Gaethje is. And I think the thing that you have to think about with this fight is Ferguson is so hittable. Like, in almost every fight, he takes pretty decent damage because he's willing just to walk through it. And I don't know that this is a guy that he can do that with. You know, I was going through his record. His last loss is Michael Johnson in 2012. So I went through the last 8 years of his fights, and I was trying to look and see who he had that had comparable power. And the best I can come up with is Edson Barbosa. And Barbosa's more of a kicks guy. So he's never fought anybody with the power in the hands in the last 8 years like Justin Gaethje's going to bring. And the most dangerous Gaethje's going to be is early on in that fight, first 2 rounds. After that, because he took this on short notice back when it was supposed to be on April 18th,
Right.
Then they got pushed it back 3 weeks. So he's been able to benefit. So I think the cardio for Gaethje may not be able to hold up long-term, but I think he's going to be very dangerous in the first 2 rounds. And the last thing I want to say on this is, as far as training camps, and this is what I was going to say, variables, Gaethje was able to get in Kamaru Usman to come into his training camp. And if you want somebody that's going to be able to train with you and push your cardio even on short notice, Kamaru Usman is absolutely the guy. You're talking about the welterweight champion that smoked Tyron Woodley last year, and then also smoked Colby Covington, was the fresher fighter in the last 50 seconds of that 5-round war that they went through. So this is a guy that's absolutely able to push Gaethje, and I think his cardio may hold up even into the 3rd round. After that, I think it's all Tony Ferguson.
It's very interesting, guys, because in prepping for the show, I try to get some other opinions, listen to some other shows, read some other stuff. I'm hearing that Gaethje is the live dog of the night. There's a lot of excitement behind the fight, and it feels like what kind of Reynolds just kind of summed up for us, and you kind of lean to it as well, AB. The guy's fun to watch, and a lot of people want to see him win this fight. It's scary, you know, and we've seen it, and HB can attest to it even from the horse racing side. When everybody's on this, you usually want to go the other way. Is this one of those cases where that's the case?
I feel like, you know, I talked to my buddy John at Westgate, John Murray, for those that don't know, executive director. I said if this got lower than 165, I was going to jump on Ferguson, because at the end of the day, I just feel like his fight IQ is so strong that I don't see him necessarily standing in front of Gaethje. But as Reynolds and I have said multiple times, we can sit here and analyze a fight and bet it and expect a fighter to do what we think they're going to do, and then they just don't do that at all.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I still,
Jokic.
yeah. I just, you know, that's the hardest thing about this. You know, in the NFL and in NBA, like, you know what these teams do and they stick to that. And I don't know if that's just because there's a coach and they're the one calling the shots, but it just seems like when fighters are in there, they get a feel for what they want to do, and then they just do that, regardless of what their corner might tell them or whatever. So, you know, I'm not confident to lay 190, and if I had to, I would definitely take the plus 190 on Gaethje, but I'm not crazy about it for sure. I still stay the under was the play, and at least the market is showing you that probably was the play.
Hey, Reynolds, back to what you said before, and this is just a betting question. With the uncertainty of the training, and I don't know how much gets out there and how much the public learns about the training process in this unique time, is there a lean to the totals one way or the other throughout these fights because of the training?
Is that to me or AB? Sorry, I missed that.
Either, as far as the betting the totals. Because, Alan, you said you're putting up totals on all the fights. Now the training's a little, you know, unrecognizable at this point.
Well,
so is there a way to lean to the totals one way or the other?
Not really, because the most of the fights are going to be 3-rounders. I think if anything, there might be some value to the championship style fights where, you know, you might be getting, in theory, a better price on stuff that you know is scheduled for 5 rounds, because, as Reynolds was saying, Gaethje, as an example, may not have the cardio to go 5 rounds with Tony Ferguson. Now, that doesn't mean, will he empty the tank early? Will he kind of try to, like, fight a 5-round fight, and those are the things that we just can't answer the question to. I haven't seen anything in particular that has led me to believe that there's a lean to under 1.5s and under 2.5s in those 3-rounders. So I think it's just kind of it's similar to how it's always bet. It's just, I think there's more gamble in this card, I think, than any card I've ever seen, for sure.
And instinctively as a gambler, with all of these stay-at-home directives, you would think that the cardio won't be there. Just instinctively.
Some of these guys were training for fights that got canceled. So there's a possibility that they were telling them, like, keep training, we're going to get it to work out. And that'll depend on the fighter themselves as to whether or not they committed themselves to keep training at the level of, like, okay, I'm probably going to have a fight in 3 weeks, so I'm sticking with it. And that's the kind of unknown stuff that I'm talking about, where there's a gamble there, because some guys would have been like, man, we ain't fighting. And then it's like 2 weeks later, they're like, oh no, you're going to be in Florida in 2 weeks. And they're like, oh God, I got to get back in the gym.
You're going to be in fucking Fight Island. You're going to be in Fight Island. Wherever the fuck that is, you're going to be there.
You're going to be on a canoe in a week, so figure it out.
Running. Get back to the road work.
So
you're going to fucking Fight Island.
So different.
Guys like Ferguson, too, by the way, are just psychopaths as far as their cardio. So he's a guy that's almost always in shape. I mean, he's also had the benefit of the first 4 weeks of his training camp. He was getting ready for Nurmagomedov, and nothing had been shut down yet. So he had that. Gaethje's going through the entire training camp has been severely limited. But like I said, I think bringing Kamaru Usman is a really big damn deal as far as being able to get his conditioning there. And I think he's absolutely really dangerous early on in this fight. So I think that's what makes that so interesting. And that's why I think it's worth a shot at, plus 180, plus 190. I'm looking over on the offshore market right now. He's plus 180 at 5 times.
Yeah, he's 190 at South Point.
Yeah.
Or at least he was like an hour ago. So
the other headline fight, Cruz and how do you say the other guy's name?
Henry Cejudo.
Wow. I watched the basically like 24/7 on this fight and watched like the training and the background and all this stuff. Cruz hasn't fought since forever. Like the layoff, is this the longest layoff in UFC like title fight history? The guys have fought in, I think, is it almost 4 years?
3.5 years.
He's probably got both of them.
Oh wow!
So,
really?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's incredibly injury prone and amazingly talented. If I could give you like some type of a boxing comparison, he's almost like the Floyd Mayweather of the UFC. Like he stands in the pocket, hits you a couple times, bounces out. You can't hit him. He's really good at mixing things up. He's hard to take down.
I mean, the price. I mean, he's a big price. I mean, it's pretty much. What do you got as far as in Vegas? I see some offshores of plus 190, plus 180, plus 170. It's all over the place.
Cejudo's minus 220 at Circa, and Cruz is 2-1 at Westgate. The guys I talked to, it seems like Cejudo should roll through this fight, but I'm not the type of guy that's going to bet against Dominic Cruz because he's already done this a couple times, and I feel like he has the style that could really give Cejudo problems over 5 rounds. And I don't know if you'll agree with this, Reynolds, but I'll send this to you. It kind of reminds me, like, I feel like this could go similar to how his fight with Mighty Mouse, the second one, did. But I think the way Cruz fights could be more of a puzzle for him to solve because he already got to fight Mighty Mouse the first time. So I don't know, man. It's not a price I'm trying to lay 220 on Cejudo, that's for sure.
No, this is a fight where I think if you bet it, you're looking at Cruz because, again, this is a fight where there's almost even more unknown because Cruz hasn't fought in 3.5 years. And to Alan's point about fights where he's come back, this is not like where he missed so much time and then blasted through Takeya Mizugaki in like 61 seconds. Henry Cejudo is not somebody who's just going to roll over, And for the most part, Dominic Cruz is not that kind of fighter that fights that aggressively as he did in that fight on the return. This is a fight that's all about the range. If it's from outside, Dominic Cruz will win a decision. If it's from the inside, Henry Cejudo, maybe he finishes the fight. I doubt it. More likely this thing goes all 5 rounds, but he'll be able to land hooks and maybe a few uppercuts and be able to get a few trip takedowns. But Dominic Cruz is so hard to catch. And he won't have the speed that Demetrius Johnson had, which is what made it so difficult throughout that second fight for Cejudo to get a good grip on him, that once he got the takedown, he didn't have the hips to keep him that way. But I think Dominic Cruz has probably the second best movement for any striker in MMA history. The first is TJ Dillashaw. Cruz moves so well and shows so many different angles that guys have a real trouble reading him, and he's able to pick you apart and just score points the entire way. So like I said, if he keeps this fight from the outside, Dominic Cruz will probably win this fight.
So you're looking at this, and I'm looking at this. The total's 4.5. The over is juiced -180. The fight's going the distance, boys. Yes or no? AB?
Yeah, it's priced correctly. You know, I always talk in my columns and on here about price is everything. So I'm not laying 180 because there's a chance Cejudo hurts him enough. I mean, that's a long fight. 5 rounds is a long time. And if Cruz has slipped at all, Cejudo will likely finish him. But if, to Reynolds' point, if Cruz is in this fight and he's Dominic Cruz of old, then yeah, it's probably going to decision, and it doesn't mean Cruz will win, but chances are it's real close when they go to the cards.
Right. I'll tell you what, HB, do you watch these fights at all? Do you partake in the UFC much?
Only when it's a really big marquee match, and usually McGregor or one of those guys.
Right.
But typically, no. And no offense, I know you guys love it. And actually, I enjoy listening to your insight, because you're so passionate about it.
Yeah, these guys do a great job with it. And again, I'm constantly learning about it as well, and I enjoy watching good fights. I hope this one's good. I hope it's not a case of Cejudo chasing him around and not being able to touch him. And ideally, it sounds like to me, if he gets him to the ground, that's what he wants to do. And Cruz wants to kind of hit and stay away and keep pointing him. It just feels like this fight's going the distance no matter what, unless somebody gets a hold of somebody really quick and maybe can get a submission. Highly unlikely. I think this one's going the distance.
Yeah, I wouldn't put much stock in either guy going for a submission here.
Yeah.
If it goes to the ground, I mean, Cejudo finished Moraes when he won the title. Then that was because Moraes ran out of gas. He went hard in the first 2 rounds, ran out of gas in the third. And then Cejudo, who's an Olympic gold medalist wrestler, was actually able to, get on top, control the hips, beat the hell out of him, and get the fight stopped. But Cejudo's also a Golden Gloves level boxer. So he's got solid striking skills.
Yep. All right. Well, I don't want to go like too far and too deep, but there's a lot of other fights on there. Do you guys want to touch on any specific ones, AB, that, we can kind of do quick hitters with, 30 seconds to a minute? Ngannou, he's knocking the guy out, right? I mean, that one's.
I don't know. That's a really interesting fight, man. This is probably the fight to be the next in line after Stipe and DC figure things out. Maybe Curtis Blaydes gets in the mix somehow. I'm not sure, but
a lot of injuries Curtis Blaydes gets in the mix.
What's that?
There's gonna have to be a lot of injuries for Curtis Blaydes to get in the mix. He's got to knock him out twice. It's not happening.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, again, I feel like the price is pretty fair. Ngannou's earned that reputation to be a 250 favorite. We have 255 at Caesars. He's like, I think J-Roz, I'm not attempting to say that last name, is like plus 240 at South Point.
Rosenstruck.
Yeah. He's a monster. I mean, he absolutely annihilated Overeem's lip at the end of that fight. But if I recall correctly, I think he was losing that fight and needed the stoppage. Yeah. So the price feels right. Definitely not one I'm gonna back either way. I kind of lean a little bit over in that fight. I think there's too many people that really just think, oh, it's a Francis Ngannou fight. It's gonna go 1 round.
Right, knock him out.
Just got to get through. Yeah, you just got to get through halfway the second. I think both have enough power and respect. I don't think it'll be like Ngannou Lewis where nobody does anything, but I think there's a good chance that meets the middle of the second and into maybe even early third. But I expect to finish.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a really tough fight just from the perspective that we really don't know. Since Ngannou lost to Stipe Miocic and then had that garbage fight with Derek Lewis, He's had 3 straight fights that have all ended very, very quickly. I think the combined fight time is 2 minutes and 23 seconds, something like that. But he's knocked out guys with weak chins. We haven't really learned anything new. Now, he's not going to get challenged in the wrestling department by this guy, Rodenstruck. So this is another good fight stylistically for him. But you got 2 big heavyweights here. They're going to throw some bombs. Ngannou's favored for a reason because he's got big, big power. But Rodenstruck can catch him.
Yeah.
Speaking of catching anybody, if anyone's still listening to wait to hear Heathy's takes, Mo Toy, he's dropped. He's lost. He's social distancing the rest of the show. So just in case anyone's wondering, Mo's okay. He's texting us. He's really upset that he can't do the show. But follow him at Heathy's takes on Twitter. I don't know, boys. There's a couple other ones that, minus 250s, minus Wordham's, minus 340, 330. Greg Hardy's minus 200, minus 190. Seems a little steep to me, but what do I know? Your boy, Pettis Cerrone. I mean, that's a tough fight, right? Is this Cowboys' shot to salvage something? I mean, he hasn't looked good his last few times out.
I got to throw this one immediately to Reynolds. I don't understand this price. This is the only fight that I'm looking at going, I don't understand why Pettis is only minus 145.
Right.
He's already knocked out Cerrone with a body kick. He's already beat this guy. And
What are we missing?
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Reynolds?
I don't know, man. This one is such a hard one to wrap your head around because both guys are mental cases, and again, adding in the limited training camps, that favors Cerrone because he's more well-versed in taking short notice fights than anybody else. But is he mentally shot now? I mean, he admitted as much that, he essentially didn't show up in the McGregor fight, right? He's been blasted by Ferguson. He's been blasted by Gaethje. Is he the same guy anymore? His grandmother not allowed to be at the fights. It'll be the first one she missed. Will that mess with him a little bit? You know what I mean? And then, like I said, Pettis he's 4-8 in his last 12 fights since losing the title. He looked terrible. And this fight is at welterweight. Both these guys are lightweights. Pettis is 1-1, and the one win was a one-shot Superman punch over Stephen Thompson, who beat the piss out of him for 9 minutes. So it's not like this is his weight class. But as far as bet this one, don't touch it.
I'm laying it with Pettis. I'm convinced. I'm convinced. I just feel like you just said it right there that he's losing 9 minutes to I think especially at this stage a much superior guy in Stephen Thompson versus Donald Cerrone. But yet that power is there. He dropped Ferguson. Pettis did when they fought. He had him hurt. I don't think Cerrone has the chin anymore to take a shot. And I think if Pettis hits him once, I think he'll finish him.
Maybe it. Yep.
Maybe when they start up, Pettis will just give him the shoulder in the face a few times. Like McGregor.
One of those. That's right. Pop the nose, and that'll end the fight.
Hope he hits him with a chair.
Naive betting question. And AB, when you write your stories for Gaming Today and you talk about a favorable price being at a South Point or being at a Circa, like other sports or maybe unlike other sports, is there big price variance in these lines across the different?
There can be. Yeah, sure. One of the reasons I try to when we do the podcast, I try to give people out the best price that's available at the time that we do the show is that, people don't realize that the best bettors that we usually take bets from are guys that bet 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 bets in a year. And
easy. Maybe
right.
more.
Yeah, maybe more. And I'm sure there's definitely a lot of guys that do more. If you think about it, if you put $4 million in handle in and you hold 6%, I mean, that's a tremendous amount of money, but you had a ton of losers. And what people don't factor in is that if you make a lot of bets during the course of the year, 5 cents matters. If you're betting $200, $300, $400, $500, and some of these guys betting $2,000, $3,000, those 5 cents add up quick. So to not do yourself the service of having, multiple accounts and always getting the best of the price. And sometimes it's not going to work out. Sometimes you're going to take, plus 190 with Justin Gaethje. And then tomorrow, for whatever reason, all the sharp guys pile in on Ferguson and you could add plus 240. And that's the game. That's part of the way it goes. But to not do yourself the service of taking plus 190 when there's plus 175 at a different book and you just settle for the plus 175, you just cost yourself money out of the gate for no reason.
And it's not uncommon to see 30 and 40 cent swings.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, just in the Ferguson, I think we got down to minus 165 and now there's books that are like 220. So part of it is knowing the game and being as good as you can at particular sports to know when a number's wrong and to be on it. Kind of like we were kind of chatting about the Browns earlier. Like I was like, plus 10 seems like a lot. It may get there by that Sunday of kick, but it may not. It may stay 9.5 and you got the best of it. And you know, that's a huge part of the game. If you're going to try to do this long term and actually make money at it, you have to get the best of it when it's available.
And are there bet shops and are there bet shops, and don't just say Caesars, that are more prudent consistently at pricing than others with this?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the sport too. You know, you have to be vigilant to check and see what's what. I mean, some books are going to lean and they may want to bet. As we talked about when we opened our NFL Week 1 numbers, we had a reason to lean the way we felt like we wanted to lean, and we knew we could bet. It's not.
I was talking more to this though, to this sport. If there were more shops that were more adept at this than others.
Yeah, I mean, there are books that have better splits, and you know, it's something to keep in mind. But a better split doesn't necessarily mean a better price. So that's why it's important to look at every book that offers it, because you may find a book sleeping and you can get that extra 20, 30 cents if they haven't moved the number. I mean, you know, that's where you want to go bet.
Yeah, for sure.
This is why I love the show.
Yep. No, I mean, and that'll apply to everything, and not just point spread wagers. It's really especially important in money line wagers in sports that have money lines.
Yeah.
And if you play money lines.
And futures, forget about it.
For futures is a whole different.
Forget about it.
We do a whole show on futures.
Oh yeah, I've gotten 40 to 1 higher at a different book before at the exact same time and day. So
the range in prices on futures is absurd, and you really do the homework there. All right, let's swing this thing around real quick before we get out of here. Talking about money lines and prices, this Korean League baseball has been a huge welcome addition to my life because I can't fucking sleep. I'm just up. And now I got something on the TV. And I'll tell you what, I was up last night watching the game, and Carl Ravitch and Eduardo Perez are doing a wonderful job. It's actually a calming thing. They had Adam Jones on last night, who went to play in the Japan League. They kept him for a full inning. And thank goodness there were some hits and some runs scored. And he was amazing. Adam Jones was so entertaining and so good, talking about going to Japan because he was going to retire. He didn't get an opportunity to go to a major league camp. Japan called and said, we'll give you $8 million for 2 years. He said he told his wife, and she said, let's pack this shit up. They have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old and move to Japan for 2 years. Let's go. So it was just really interesting, and it's fun, and it's got people talking. AB, you said you dip your toe in the water and took a team. This Dino's team or Dinos or whoever they are, this team looks good. They can hit. I'm not going to sit here and be a tout for Korean League baseball and talk about prices and who's got this. But you made a play and you won. Are you going to do it again?
Not today. Not today. I had too much things going on today. We were working on a bunch of different numbers at work, and then I had to kind of get myself together for the show. So today is a day off. Rain out for me. Okay. Maybe I'll see something tomorrow. We'll see. I gotta say though, I was so psyched when the first game was at 10 p.m. and I was like, "This is glorious! I'm gonna get 10 p.m. baseball games in Korea." And then now all of them I see are like 1:30 and 2, and I'm like, no. Yeah. I'm like, oh, like 10, I'm in. I'll watch it, but I can't not sleep. So
for those of us with insomnia problems right now, for whatever reason, HB, I know that like I was up the other night and we were on Twitter, and I saw Carp tweeting about it. I saw some other people tweeting about it, Gaming Today News, and I didn't see you. You might have been sleeping and already been passed out, but. Are you watching this stuff?
No, but I'm watching our writers and other people prognosticate. We have a writer named Willie Ramirez who writes for Major League Baseball, and he's been making a pick every day. I think he's 1-1, and he's got another pick tonight. I'll post it soon. But I made a wise-ass tweet last night with all the NFL stuff going on when the schedules came out. I said, now back to the important stuff. Here's Willie's Korean baseball pick.
Yeah, it's good to have actually live sports, and hopefully it is the blueprint for us getting Major League Baseball in stadiums, whether it's in front of people or not. It probably is not going to be. I've been saying that all along. If you're going to get to be able to play the sports, you don't have to have the fans there. It's probably a prudent decision to not do it. But if we can get there and get it on TV, in Korea, they welcome the bat flip. It's a lot of fun stuff. I wouldn't mind seeing that make its way into Major League Baseball. So we at least have that going for us.
The Jose Bautista bat flip is one of my favorite baseball moments ever.
Oh,
It's
that
incredible.
was one of the top 5 of all time.
And I have so many friends that hate it. It's amazing. But
yeah, well,
I loved it.
It's got to come into baseball at some point. Adam Jones actually talked about that and said, "Listen, generations change, traditions change." He said, "When I came up, if you did that, you got it. The next guy got it in the ear hole." He goes, "There's no need for that now." He goes, "You just flip the bat, and that's swag." And
Yeah.
why can't we
That's it.
welcome swag into Major League Baseball?
Why are you not allowed to have fun? Like
Yeah.
not everything is meant to be disrespectful. The point of the game is to hit a bomb, right?
Yeah.
If you're up there hitting.
Yeah, and if
I
you
don't
hit a
see
moon shot in the 8th inning to put your team ahead, and it's an exciting moment,
Yeah.
celebrate it. That's
Yeah.
it.
And
You
if I'm the manager and my pitcher gets mad about that, I'd be like, put him down next time then. Don't let him hit a 3-run bomb.
Right.
Like,
I mean, it's got to be that way. And the pitcher can punch out and walk off the mound and do whatever.
Absolutely.
Strike out the
Yeah.
same thing. So it works both ways. I'm just glad it's on TV. I see these cheerleaders there cheerleading in front of nobody with masks on. I don't know about you guys. Is anyone used to the fucking masks? Like when you go out, are you wearing a mask? Are you used to it? I'll start. I fucking hate the mask. I hate it.
Well, it'd be nice if when we had to go somewhere in the past, as they do in the Japanese culture, that if you're sick and you have to be out, wear a mask so you don't get other people sick is really the way it's supposed to work. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is at this point with everything. I mean, I think by fall, winter, we're going to see that everyone had this thing and we're going to kind of look back on, wow, maybe we like jumped it. But I think that's the thing when you don't know, that's the scary part.
Yeah, you don't really know. HB, you wearing a mask?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. But the glasses fog up when I wear the glasses. So when I breathe and I'm walking the aisles of Target and I can't see what I'm fucking looking for.
And don't go the wrong way. If you go down the fucking aisle the wrong way, there's
the
somebody there
looks.
to fucking tell you.
People are diving.
I had an old lady in Vons give me a look the other day.
Oh, I'll tell you what. I mean, my mother-in-law is the line leader. If you go the wrong way, she tells you, and she'll make sure you can't go the wrong way anymore. And I know she's not the only one doing it. I'm very aware of where the fucking lines are anymore if I go out and get stuff. So before we wrap it up, I just wanted to tell a quick story. I actually went golfing with this COVID-19 special. Golf courses opened back up, and I played golf. And it was weird, but it wasn't. Everybody got their own cart. 4 people, everybody did their own thing. And I highly recommend to golf courses, this should be standard procedure. Everyone gets their own cart. Pace of play was better. Nobody touched the flag stick. They have it nailed down in there. So that was different. But otherwise, it was a welcome time to be outside. I don't know for those of you that see it on video, I'm getting a lot of sun. I'm doing a lot of walking. I'm getting out. Just keep trying to get outside and do stuff. And I highly recommend it. The last segment I wanted to touch on before we get out of here, and we've been doing it last few weeks, a nice what if segment. And it's a moment in time that what if this was different?
I need a refill for this.
No, you got to sit your ass down. This is pertaining to you. I'll start with you, HB, because you're here. What if the Chicago Bears drafted Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes? What would be different? Not just with the teams that have those guys, but starting with the Chicago Bears.
They'd lose in the first round of the playoffs because they had shitty coaching.
Fair.
Incredible.
Alan, your Bears have – who would you want, Watson or Mahomes?
Because of who our coach is, I would rather have Watson.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
I just think that he's a guy that fits into like any system with the way he plays. Mahomes has everything. So it's hard to know. I know what Watson is because he plays for one of the worst coaches in the league.
Right.
And Mahomes plays for one of the best, and he has some of the best talent around him. So, you know, I still believe to this day if they had drafted that kid over Trubisky, they would have actually won the Super Bowl the year the Rams went. Because I just feel like they were the best team. They had the best defense. They, you know, the kicker missed the field goal. If Trubisky didn't play like garbage for 3 quarters, they would have smashed the Eagles. And they matched up. They already beat the Rams once on the road. They matched up really well against the Saints. It's a travesty, man. Blew it. And I got so triggered today because we had pre-planned this segment, as you saw with my walk-off. But Watson tweeted today that the Bears never talked to him. And, like, it just blows my mind that you're picking the biggest position and you're like, yeah, I'm sold. 8 games, Mitchell Trubisky through interceptions in the Sun Bowl, while this guy is winning the national championship against the best defense in college football, and you don't even talk to him. Like, unbelievable. Immediate Pro Bowler, playing for Bill O'Brien, who doesn't have any clue what the hell he's doing. And Trubisky is probably a backup next year for some other team. So,
Oh, man.
Total disaster.
Does Trubisky start this year?
No, Foles will.
You think so?
Yeah. This is them admitting that they screwed up, and they're trying to salvage what they have because they're bringing in a guy that knows Nagy's system, because it's essentially the Andy Reid / Doug Peterson, Matt Nagy system, and it'll have its own wrinkles and all these things. But yeah, this is a face saver. They traded for this guy in the hopes that they can somehow get enough good play from the quarterback that they're back to the way they were 2 years ago. Who knows? I mean, I don't know.
I'll bet you a quarter. I'll take Mitch. I'll take as the starter. Week 1.
You're in. We're in.
We'll bet a quarter. That's what an old timer used to say. We'll bet you a quarter or a candy bar. Either way, that's our friendly bet of the night. All right, boys. Well, let's wrap this thing up. Great job tonight. I don't know where else to go. HB, I'll start off with you. You can take a minute if you'd like. Send it off. You got things to look forward to this weekend on Twitter as far as horse racing and picks. Anything you want to shout out before we get out of the
No, things are light tomorrow. There's Gulfstream in Tampa Bay. Quick anecdote. People are thirsty to bet. Oaklawn last week had a big card, and their biggest days handle-wise were $14, $15 million in the past. Last week they did $41 million in handle. So people want action, and that was the only available action last Saturday, and they bet.
Was there a big stakes race, or that was?
There was the Arkansas Derby run in 2 divisions, but even on Arkansas Derby day, they would do 14 or 15. They did 3x.
That's a lot. Like, most of that, I assume, is simulcast money.
Oh, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no on track.
Yeah.
They're running. There's no crowds.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if they could go bet or if they had like their own phone service, and then there was like all the other states that have the mobile sports betting.
Yeah.
No, they have Twin Spires and some of those other apps that you can do multi-state.
Right.
And next week, Churchill Downs and Santa Anita open. So we're going to start to see the names come back and the bigger tracks.
Let's hope they all go well.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hope they all go well there.
Yeah.
AB, on the way out, anything?
I got nothing.
Excellent. We needed to bring that back. We had to have it. He's at %Berg on Twitter. Howard is at Gaming Today News on Twitter. Mo, who had to tap out early, is at He These Takes on Twitter. He's been on fire. Half the time, I don't know what he's talking about when he's talking about either new songs, rap guys. I have no idea what the hell he's talking about half the time. But it's good and it's entertaining, and you probably should follow him on Twitter as well. Reynolds, the producer. I am Reynolds 2305 on Twitter, and thank you for your information tonight on the UFC card. Again, it's Friday night. We're wrapping this up. I really hope they do this card, but again, we don't know. First positive test was this evening. So if you're listening to the show, again, thank you for listening to the show. You can find us now on YouTube, where you'll find the other Gaming Today News videos. There's a nice little library. You get to see HB in the hat every day with the GT logo, talking to Minty and doing picks on different races. The Gaming Today is available as well, the digital subscription. You can look there, find all the articles. AB has his UFC article this week. Carp's doing an article every week. There's just a list of writers that are still – I don't know how you guys are doing it. It's really impressive. But between, Michi and the boys, there's a lot of stuff there. So it's available as well. And for me, that's it. I'm still in limbo, just trying to keep it all together, and hopefully something's going to open up and we'll get going forward from there. But that's going to do it for the show tonight. Thank you again for joining us this week. Again, the show is at GT Cash Consider. Follow us on Twitter. Feel free to reach out. DMs are open. That's going to do it for this evening. Enjoy the UFC if it goes. We'll see you guys next week.